Parliament Hill is one of the most enduring legacies of Canada. Politicians, administrations, and prime ministers use it as a legislative building to discuss and modify Canadian laws and ethics. It is the most visited building in Canada, with hundreds of people frequently visiting every year. To find out how the building was born, we need to rewind to the aftermath of the War of 1812. So during this period, the United States and the United Kingdom signed the Treaty of Ghent, ending the War of 1812 and 1814. However, the conflict did prompt the British to seek a safer military supply route and protection from anticipated American attacks. Thus, they chose the Rideau River as the ideal canal for such purposes. 14 years later, retired Colonel John By would be appointed to oversee the building of the modern Rideau Canal. It may appear to have had little to do with the Parliament's existence, but that is further from the truth and jumping to conclusions. While the canal was the primary focus, John also had in mind a community to house workers and laborers of canal-related tasks in order for construction to not be delayed. Thus, a new settlement was born between Upper and Lower Canada called Bytown. So by 1832, the Rideau Canal was complete. John By returned to his homeland of England, where he passed away just 6 years later. But thanks to John By's efforts, Bytown, later renamed Ottawa in 1855, would soon become the epitome of our government and constitution. It is important to note that Bytown was at the border between Upper and Lower Canada. Keep in mind the two regions had many differences, with much of the reasoning being the fact that the Upper Canada is predominantly English and Lower being predominantly French. For this reason, two legislators were born for each province, the Upper House for Upper Canada and the Lower House for Lower Canada. But since the rebellions of the two regions against the Crown were subsequent, the British Parliament sent Lord Durham to oversee a solution to end the crisis. Durham concluded that a unified government is needed to ensure the prosperity and harmony of the Canadian people, while his ulterior motive was to decimate the cultural influence of French Canadians. Regardless, the British Parliament agreed to this solution and created the Province of Canada, with a plan for one legislator for both Canadas. By 1859, the construction of the Parliament began. Fast forward several years later, Canada became a self-governing nation within the British Empire by 1867, with a fully complete Parliament building ready to be used as a legislator for the Federation.
So as we can see, much can be learned from this historical building right behind me. Most of what you see today of the Parliament building were very recent modifications that were needed following the fire of 1916, where a fire ensued and burned most of the area inside the legislative building, except for the Library of Parliament, which remains as it was when it was first established in 1876. Regardless of its setbacks, Canada will always remember the Parliament as its icon and its legacy, of which we Canadians most proudly embrace every time we visit here, every passing year of our lives.